Hello, comic book junkies. So, right after I got my new computer and finally got to be able to make videos every day once again, I actually ended up sick. I have the flu. So, due to the fact that I'm still ridiculously ill and look somewhat like this, for this video, let's just imagine I look more like this, Courtney Cox from 3,000 Miles to Graceland. So every time you would normally see me, you'll just see Courtney Cox instead. Right, so now that that's settled, on with the review. Metal Made Flesh is a cyberpunk story for today's generation of die-hard science fiction fans, set in a futuristic world created and illustrated by Aston and written by Biggs. I got to read the most recent installment of the story, book number 3, Metal Made Flesh Vengeance, which is published by a small independent UK label called Subversive Comics. The book features 8 different artists and 5 different writers, and I suspect with the overall guidance of the 2 original collaborators, Aston and Biggs, who started the whole project back in 2011. If you're an avid heavy metal magazine reader, then you might remember reading Metal Made Flesh, the second story arc, in 2015 when it ran in the magazine. The third book follows mercenary Phaon Nex, whose consciousness has been thrust into the body of a rapidly deteriorating child clone, and I have to admit that I've always really enjoyed books where children characters are acting like adults, although in this case, the child body is inhabited by a bloodthirsty, ruthless mercenary. Visually, seeing a child doing something really violent is always an eye-catcher in art because we don't typically think of children as innately violent, and stories with violent children that come to mind that have always caught my eye are things like Kick-Ass with Hit Girl and that cover where she's standing covered in blood with that sort of deranged look on her face, and how memorable is that? That image is forever burned in my mind's eye. And of course, there are tons of stories where children have to resort to violence for survival, like Battle Royale, great movie by the way, and Lord of the Flies, for example. These kinds of stories have always been highly controversial throughout history, and I kind of think that this story pops right in there with that category. Something else I find interesting about this story is that our main character isn't a good guy. He's desperate and does at some point start to question his life and fear death, but only because he fears hell. He fears about what will happen to him when he dies. He doesn't feel remorse for what he's done and all the lives he's taken. He's 100% selfish throughout the story, and it's interesting to follow a character who is entirely unlikable, but yet you want to follow him because the world in this story is so interesting. He's so selfish, you just want to see what crazy bullshit he's going to do next. Ultimately, he wants his body back, and he doesn't know who has it, where it is, and that mystery keeps you reading on. Simeon Aston and Vittorio Estone are probably my 2 favorite artists in the book, but every artist has a complementary style to the overall story. Everyone else is called out in these lovely chapter title pages. You can order your copy of Metal Made Flesh Vengeance at metalmadeflesh.com, where you can also hit the links on the left side of the webpage and follow them and Subversive Comics on all social media platforms. I really enjoyed this book. I first found out about them via Instagram and really dug all the artwork they posted on there. I think the story is pretty unique and really captivating. I'm a big cyberpunk fan. I really hope Aston and Biggs continue to work together because they really are a fantastic duo. They clearly have a great eye for talent as they handpicked all the contributors for this book. This is definitely one independent book every comic book junkie should own. And that's it for me for today. So please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't subscribed. And until next time, read something good.